bet you thought you saw the last of me, right? No, but you were not prepared for my true form, and now I think you are. Please don't let me be wrong. Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author, idiot, loin streamer, and angel in my true form. If you ever were curious as to whether I was human or not, the answer is make up your own mind. The second thing is, if you didn't think that I could get more biblically accurate, I've brought the biblical accuracy. But today, in case you're wondering why I'm in my true form, well, we didn't finish with the good angel, bad end duology last time. Like 2 weeks ago, I did the Good Angel by A.M. Blaushild, aka CrowCaller here on YouTube. And now we're going to do the second book in the trilogy called Bad End. Now we're going to do the second book in the duology called Bad End. These books were published decently far apart. Like the Good Angel was published in 2017, and then Bad End was published in 2022. And to me, I could tell that they were written at very different times, and the author felt like a very different person when she wrote the two of them. But you'll have to let me know if you forgot what is in the Good Angel or didn't get to see it. I would recommend going watching that to then see how it changes in Bad End, because you would think that as a duology, and as especially because the duology has both book names, that it would be a continuation. But it's not. It's like a completely different person. But before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do here on the channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Number two, if you would like to be featured on the channel, check out the links down in the description below. The number one way to be featured is through LMY, the monthly prompt writing contest, where I give you a prompt. You write a short story using that prompt, and the first Monday video of the month, we bask in your guys' creativity. Whatever you submit that goes with that prompt, check out February. The deadline is coming up. The second way to be featured is if you are an indie author and have a book out or a book that is coming out. If you submit your first chapter and your cover, they will be read here on the channel at random intervals to hopefully help more readers find your work, because, you know, that is a mission that I believe in. If you've worked on it, I want to help people find it, even if I'm not your audience, because you know what? I don't serve everybody, you don't serve everybody, but your person is out there, your readers are out there waiting to find you. They just don't know how to find you. Third thing is, if you would like to check out any of my books, Judge Me. You know, they're available at any of your favorite places to get books, including the local library. So if you want to judge me, but not pay for it, there's the library. And if you have any hate mail for me, I accept it in the form of Majima merchandise sent directly to my P.O. box. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into this. So, as I said before, this is Bad End by A.M. Blaushild, also known as CrowCaller here on YouTube. She specializes in YA, specifically YA angel books and Lightlark. And why am I finishing this? Because even though I didn't like the first one and I thought it was written by a teenager as an awkward sexual awakening story, I like to finish things. I like to try to see if there was a whole story that I missed, if things that were done in the first story get paid off later, because personally I know that when I'm doing a group of stories, freaking look at Bodymore. Joey is not a great person in the first book. She is struggling in the first book. She is very she's not a bad person. She's a difficult person. She is a struggling person with trauma, and you got to give her time to come into her own. But so then I like to give other people that benefit of the doubt, if I can, or that benefit to kind of follow through on their stories. And today I also have as an angel of death that has to do with Armageddon. We've got my compadre here. Bambi. This was Bambi. I think Bambi's name was Bradley. From Cain and Abel, one of the stories that I'm working on. But Bradley is the first dead guy that Abel tries to lobotomize. So he's a special one. So thank you, Bambi. Bambi gonna just hang out back there. So, yeah. In case you don't recall, a very brief synopsis of what happened in the first book was that the story is about Eophiel, an angel of art and beauty who has no idea what art is and thinks that art is stupid because no angel has any idea what art is for, becomes friends with an imp because she thinks the imp is pathetic, but finds that she could be friends with the pathetic imp, and then starts taking demon classes. And by the way, angels and demons share school because heaven and hell are full. And then Armageddon starts, and Armageddon starts because also Eophiel has something to do with Armageddon starting, because the angel taking demon classes. And then Lucifer determines that humans should bring about their own Armageddon, and so then it's going to help her stop Armageddon. And then she gets brought into heaven by Michael, Archangel Michael, and then Archangel Michael is like, well, I'm going to kill you, and hopefully the next AOPL is better because all the angels are just reincarnations of previous versions of themselves. And then instead of just killing her right then and there, he flies away and she follows, and then she stabs him, and then he dies, and then she like jumps off the clouds into the ground, and that's where it ends. So book 2 opens up with Archangel Michael being reborn. The thing that we run into immediately here is that we're seeing an angel be reincarnated immediately. So depending on how quickly he regains his identity, we'll see how it compares to Aophiel in book 1, since she was only 7 days old when book 1 started, and now we're going to see an angel rebirth process and how they recall their memories based on what is necessary. And so then that immediately sets up a very difficult thing to do for an author to make sure that you are consistent in your world building. It turns out that Michael immediately remembers never having died before, and he wakes up beside his own dead body. And he has the help of the other angels talking to him, saying reorientation is tougher when there is a great deal of knowledge. So then this would mean that Aophiel woke up next to her own dead body, so then she would know that she is a reincarnation of her dead self every single time. But what was Aophiel's excuse for not knowing better? If it's harder to reincarnate and get your knowledge back when you have more knowledge, how come Aophiel knew literally nothing? Like, not even what a cafeteria was. Because from the first book, we learned that Michael was the only archangel who had never died before. We have no idea how many times Aophiel might have died, but we know that Michael had never died before. So he's going to go through this for the first time. So how do none of these other angels like have a process in place to help them regain like who they were or are supposed to be to like expedite the situation? Michael doesn't know how to redress his skin to look the way that he wants. Gabriel is not amused by Michael's lack of knowledge, though he learns things very, very fast, even if he doesn't understand why or how. Quote, all archangels, when they die, carry over their predecessors' memories. They do come back differently. They can change skin and gender and quirks, but they are a role more than a person. He was supposed to be a sequel, but instead, Archangel Michael, too, is alarmed to learn he stands alone. I thought that this was all angels, though I'd think that the processes would be a little more streamlined. Michael is not reborn with any sense of purpose or loyalty or anything. He's just born with a sense of emo, quote, I never should have been born. So that's cool. I don't see how any of these angels are like dying and then going immediately back into war, because they're supposed to be in the middle of a holy war right now. So they keep dying and then going to school and then going to war because they're doing a holy war. But like, with that as your setup of he dies and immediately comes back and then it's just emo and is like, I should never have been born, I don't see how this is sustainable, let alone sustainable for thousands of years. Quote, his neck split open, very dead. Archangel Michael is still learning emotions, and what he thinks at first is grief blossoms into anger. He should never have been born. He is not sure what happened. He is not sure he wants to exist, and now someone has brought it about anyway, created another archangel with broken blue skin. Let the universe glitch and birth an empty-minded mistake like himself. So they don't even start clean slate. It's like you die and then it's like, well, fuck me, I'm alive. Again, now it just feels like current generation nihilism of I didn't ask to be born, I don't want to be born. You'd think that he would have more sense of his divine orders being interrupted, that he needed to get back to work, and that part of that work is removing the interruption. The angels around Michael are whispering about Aophiel. Why? I don't know. You'd think that her killing Michael would result in her execution. They would have grabbed her or something, because this is immediately following after that, right? But they just let her get away. Especially because if they had killed her, then she would have been reborn, lost her memories, been someone new, and they could have instilled in her the person that they wanted her to be. But no. Instead, they're all just gossiping about Aophiel, and Michael knows who she is, and he's angry about it. They're telling him that she's dead and that they don't know where her new version is now, and he's not believing it. You really think that Archangel Michael would believe that you don't know where an angel is, especially as an archangel? Like, I don't see any way that angels could lose track of other angels. But, you know, if you made the argument that made sense, I could believe it, but that argument is not made. It's just believe me, bro. But I guess angels can lie to no offense, considering this was made a pretty big deal in book 1, that angels can't lie. But now they're doing it to Michael so openly to protect his feelings. Also, like, you really think that telling Michael you don't know where that angel is and he's gonna believe you? I don't think so. He's appeared to Aophiel before in a random location wherever she was. They know where their own are. That's been the implication, and Iofiel had to learn to lie, and it impressed the demons in the last book. So why are all of the demons now, why are all the angels now suddenly like, oh my gosh, we can just lie easily, and it's not even something that anybody thinks of? Move over to Archie and Salem, the soccer demon from book 1, and they are in the woods. Archie's called dumb because imps are formed as full adults, just like angels, but that somehow makes the imps dumb. But somehow this is the reason for them being considered dumb. They've teleported to a place in hell that they shouldn't be, Satan's workshop. Archie insults the demon's appearance because for some reason the demon doesn't blend into hell, but Archie does. They've been abducted by Satan and they aren't allowed to run off because some other purpose is going on. Though no one can tell them what their purpose is, and everyone is assumed that they already know. But if they already know, then why can't they just tell them what their purpose is, or at least have conversations with them? And now they're bunking together in an apartment, and they hate life. An apartment in hell, yes. The two are going to go out and do something when they get a text message from Lucifer saying that he needs them. Oddly enough, it spends a couple of paragraphs going on about elevators not needing electricity since they run on magic down here, but then it says that they don't really have cell phone service in hell, and the two are special to have phones. They're moving through town, and this is where Archie goes on about imps being inferior to demons and being a demon-passing imp. I don't remember him being demon passing in school. He was picked on for being the only imp in school, which is why Iofiel wanted to be his friend, but now he is demon passing. Okay. Quote, in public, this never worked, but at least most people assumed someone as independent as him was a lower demon, not a lower species. Being an imp was a touchy thing. He wished that it was something that he could be proud of, but the differences between demons and imps did not come down to little aesthetics. Imps were born in batches, born to work and nothing else, never gifted with not enough free will to want anything else. Hell was a city riding on slave labor, essentially, except imps were more like pack animals than oppressed people. Archie had a problem with this. It was perhaps his brief exposure to Earth, but it was hard not to feel a little queasy to live in a city with a clear, defined lower class, especially one that he technically belonged to. He was mostly happy to pass as a weak demon and keep his head down. He tried chatting to some of the guard imps, but they were meant to notice who tried to get past and nothing else. The Watchers lacked vocal cords and communicated only to each other in some form of sign language. Battle imps were sharp-witted, more intelligent than others, but from the moment that they were physically able, they were able to die. Even imps like Archie, ones who looked quite human-y, who had normal names and lifelike traits, tended to be simple. So we're setting up an oppressed class. Also, kind of like being surprised that there is a slave class in hell. Hello, where do you think you are exactly? But okay. You can't tell me that these creatures don't have free will, though, because Archie has acted out of free will pretty much this entire time. Quote, Archie had encountered one of his batchmates, a demon who looked a lot like him named Cicero. He was small and quick and was assistant to a lower arc demon. He stood very still when he wasn't needed and ran paperwork on request. During lunch, he sat with the other imps of his rank, and though they talked about the city, sounded like any others, Archie had always felt that they were a little limited, didn't want anything other than this, didn't see the inherent problematic nature of their existence. Maybe they were fine. He had a different experience to them and could have been too quick to judge. He was the one who avoided other imps, who kept his thoughts to himself. It was hard to deny some imps were engineered shells created explicitly to lack wit and will. But in the Watch, most of those that he met were sharp, and they had lives of their own, no matter how limited the city was in the offering. They seemed happy. Maybe they were content with the life that they had been created for. Maybe they had the intelligence to know that asking for change would achieve nothing at all. And so you can't tell me that Archie doesn't have free will when he's looking at other imps being like, I want more than what that imp has, but also like making judgments on the other imps. Also, it's a very weird thing that just kind of reads to me like an inability of the author when they can't like look at a character and allow a character to do wrong or to be wrong or to just normalize wrong, as they make this character in a bad situation such as hell, and they say that it is a lower citizen that has a lower thinking ability. However, it doesn't actually have a lower thinking ability and judges the concept of hell, the contents of hell. So they can't like just have a character that exists in a way that is necessarily opposed to what they believe. That is the author. Because a lot of the time, there are many that believe that if you write something, then obviously you believe it, especially if it has to do with your main characters. So many people fear actually writing a certain way because they don't want to be seen as endorsing something, and so they can't actually write a certain way, like allowing imps to be slaves. And so this kind of shows me a limitation on the author. Now we skip over to Malik, who is now in hell because Iofiel told him that she might be there after the end of her mysterious quest from the last book. So he came there looking for her. Obviously, he is in love with her. He also came there because he didn't feel safe around angels anymore because of how he had been helping her, and all of the angels were calling her a second traitor now. Though if angels come to kill Iofiel, he will stand aside, though he also doesn't care much about her, is what he says. I don't care about her, but I'm going to stand aside if they come to kill her, but I'm also going to go to hell to look for her, and also the angels are bad guys. Cool, great, we're back to that trope. He gets into hell by rebranding his appearance and goes to Santiago to teach him the magic he needs for that, because apparently he doesn't know how to rebrand his appearance, though he was rebranding Iofiel's appearance in the first book. Switch over to Lucifer's perspective. Archie and Salem come into Lucifer's office, still described as the most flamboyant person in existence and daring people to call him out on it. Switch over to Santiago's POV in her apartment, and they're making some mac and cheese spells to see if they can sell the idea to their local coven, just like the emoji spells, because humans are idiots. That's right. So after they finished school, or after the Armageddon thing, Santiago and her girlfriend Damien just moved into like California to live there, and then started a coven / joined a coven, and now are leaders of a witch coven because... yeah, if you think it's going to be plot relevant, it's not. It just kind of is there so that they can exist in the story and exist in the story. That's it. Oh, I guess they've been wondering if the apocalypse is still happening 3 years from now or what, because 3 years time has passed since the end of book 1. Maybe the apocalypse is happening, maybe it's not, who knows. For now, they're just going to be part of an American coven. Then it's time to meet the coven. Quote, the coven met twice a week, and a good meeting. There were 10 of them: Allie, Cooper, Jay, Zofia, Lydia, Carmen, Marion, Elizabeth, G, and Queenie. All of them were in their mid or lower 20s, the youngest being G at 16. The de facto leader was Zofia Kutcher, a college dropout with long, billowy hair and this oddly theatrical way of speaking. She was like a cheesy B-movie actor playing a witch, except somehow seeing her in the flesh made her act far more convincing. She was fairly wealthy, and the coven met at her home generally in the evenings, where they'd drink wine, catch up, and sometimes pray or perform spells in tandems. So just know that this woman and this coven are giving 16-year-olds minimally alcohol as well. But I guess, like, if you're messing with magic and demons, then I guess you really don't care. This is when it goes with introducing the coven to the best mac and cheese femininity and beauty spells. Then she's talking to G about spells that she has learned, and Santiago is like, I don't remember who these people are, because they really don't actually care about the coven. And again, I don't really know why the coven is there, because again, Santiago and Damien don't really care. They're just kind of there, living their normal life until the end of the world. Santiago just judges the chick for having the gall to think that she can do magic when they're demons, and obviously they're the ones bringing the real magic, and these witches, these wannabes, don't know what the frick they're doing. The Polish girl leaves, and there's something mystical about her that's also magic and weird, and the Polish girl is probably evil, but don't worry, this never actually comes up. It just makes a deal out of the way that she looks, but it never actually comes into the story. Then we go over to Lupe, the occultist shop owner perspective. She was from the shop in Canada that exploded, that Iofiel was like, oh no, she died. But apparently she got a premonition that something bad was coming, so she fled town so she didn't die. Yeah, that feels like a retcon. It didn't mention that in the first book. It just decided, you know what, I like Lupe, I'm gonna keep Lupe around in the second book. Anyway, so Lupe, the occultist shop owner's perspective, now she has a mystical pulse, this capitalization of which is addressed in the text, saying that it just feels right. She then just kept on the road, trying to figure out why she had psychic premonitions, while doing odd jobs, and then she stops at Home Depot to kind of just live in the parking lot of Home Depot. Just in case you didn't know what Home Depot is, don't worry, it's described, you indoor neat. Quote, it was like a warehouse inside, gigantic, one of those places that sold wood, stone, tools, nuts, bolts, tiles, carpets, paints, appliances, siding, fencing, everything. At least it was cooler, but she walked slowly inside. She really wished that she knew what she was doing. Lupe, I'm pretty sure you're not the only one that wishes she knew what she was doing. She wanders around to see if she is being stalked. She's not. In the garden section, she sees this bizarre creature that no one else can see, and she semi-faints, is helped up, and recovers. This random guy at Home Depot knows about angels and introduces the new idea of principalities, which are earthbound angels, because this guy named Henry says that he sees angels and hears them talk, and says nothing about how or why he can do any of that. Lupe wants to know how he knows what he knows, but he's not going to share it at the moment. Back over to Malik. He's wandering around hell looking for clues as to where to go, and wondering why the demons aren't looking like anything that they do on Earth. He's feeling like he's being followed, but he doesn't pause or even look around, even when he hears things following him. Of course, he gets attacked by a demon stalking him. Of course he does, because he didn't stop when he felt like he was being stalked. He takes it out, and then he is bleeding, and his disguise is ruined, and somehow it promptly fixes itself, no problem. Change to the perspective of the demon thing that he had just killed. Luckily, it's one of the few randoms in this type of thing that have a name. This character is named the Apple, and was born speaking sign language. We switch to this perspective basically just to hear that the creature is still alive, because then it goes right back to Malik. I'm sorry, I'm finding eyeballs in my hair. That's a little bit of a problem. Anyway, we just go into this perspective to hear that the creature did not die and that it is still pursuing Malik. And then we go back to Malik's perspective. There we go. Malik is wandering around when he reaches the dorms for housing demon students. I thought they were all on Earth, but okay, we got demon students in hell as well. During their time off season at the university, I thought the university was for overflow, but apparently they also send the overflow back to hell. Apparently, we're retconning 7 years later. Back at the dorm, he is then attacked, and Satan shows up saying that he is not going to attack him, but actually help Malik. Satan heals Malik, gets his name, continues to be cringe, and he goes, "Oh dear, oh love, don't you know who I am?" After healing Malik, Lucifer takes him out back to his home, and Lucifer decides to take Malik's eye out and stabbing him so that he can heal this random imp that he has, the Apple. And I thought imps were just disposable, but apparently Lucy has a thing for pets. I've got some assumptions over here. Also, it was the most lackluster eye stabbing ever. Quote, "It hurt. It really, really hurt. First, a knife, magic or not, is not supposed to be put in an eye cavity. It was like a needle scratching a part of his body that he didn't know that could be scratched, about as satisfying as an ill-advised Q-tip too deep in the ear canal. And also painful. Malik could see it, and really could imagine seeing it, the fallen holding him still as he dug out the right eye like a peach pit, set free. Malik trying to close his eyes out of reflex, and then was struck with a sensation, the eyelid twitching against the knife, the fallen's fingers holding it open. Then he used more and more of the ritual magic, and is just kind of abused until he passes out, wakes up missing an eye, and his wings have been plucked. When Malik struggles to leave, he runs into Satan, wearing a hot pink robe, and the Apple, who now has human-like a body for some reason. I have a feeling that Satan got some snoo-snoo from that imp, and that's why he keeps the imps around. Archie, you want to confirm or deny? Malik passes out and wakes up in Lucy's office, healed, except, obviously going to miss his eye for the rest of the time. And Lucy says that he likes his experiments, so, you get to hang out, little buddy. Back to Santiago and Damien, talking about the Polish witch doing magic, because humans can't actually do magic, just rituals. They're worried that they need to skip town before some trouble happens to them because of this witch girl. Like, she might be more trouble than she actually seems. Santiago's gonna go around on her own and see if she can't find the trouble that she's feeling. She goes outside and it's raining, downpouring really. With her rainbow umbrella and black raincoat, she's being splashed by every car that drives by, and she explains how they moved into this town since the angels were inactive here, but also it's a small place. The night smells delicious, whatever that means, and she is listening to jazz music as she goes into a store and gets Hot Pockets because, well, she doesn't like jazz, but Damien's art house sensibilities are rubbing off on her, so maybe she'll start liking jazz if she listens to it a little bit more. Quote, "It was a delicious smelling night, and as she crossed the hospital parking lot, she took her hand out of her pocket and felt the air a little clearer. There was something about it, a feeling like a bulge against her fingertips, like a swelling of magic caught somewhere. But while that was all interesting, it was fucking vague. She jammed her hand back into her pocket in frustration. She senses something going on, ducks into a pizza shop, experiences some weird vibes, and then calls Damien to pick her up because something weird is going on. Back over to Malik and Lucifer. There's no setting, it's just Lucy being like, "So, you met the new Archangel? No? Well, either do this or don't. That's free will, baby, and you have got free will." So the Niophil complaining that they don't have free will in the first book is BS, because all of these characters are like free will, and you constantly see them making free will choices anyway that are not for the betterment of their purpose, for the divine, or for their mission. It's just whatever they want to do. It's also kept vague on purpose. Switch over to Archie and Salem sitting with the apple locked outside of the room that Malik and Lucy are in. Once Malik is left alone in the room, Archie joins them, and he apparently can't at all remember what he had just been talking about with Lucifer, though Lucifer also theoretically didn't put any kind of a spell on him. It's just like Archie walked in and was like, "Hey, Malik, what were you talking to Lucifer about?" And Malik is like, I don't remember. So again, it feels like a common issue. Again, this happened in ISOM as well, where it was just like everything was vague, and it's because the author didn't think it through. The author has no idea what they're doing, and vagueness is not suspense. It's just not planning. Anyway, he's asked why he's in hell, and Malik says that he is looking for Iophiel. We get some random rant about how Dad's status works in hell because Archie has rejected Satan as his daddy, but also the men Satan's dating are also not his daddies, even though Satan is dating like multiple dudes. Quote, "The devil clearly isn't dead," Malik said, still looking paranoid as he took in the room, "though he does appear unduly fond of you. He's his dad," Salem said sternly, putting his hands on his hips. "He's not my dad," Archie shot back. "He's one of your 3 dads, and you're spoiled rotten for it, don't lie." "I do not have 3 dads." His dad's status was something that he'd debated before. Yes, as in some ways Lucifer was quite dad-like, and he did have 2 spouses, and if this was some sort of alternate universe, that would probably bring Archie's overall dad count up to 3. That was a luxurious number of dads, and Archie generally did not count Lucifer as such, and Lucifer's husband, Rosary, and husband-aligned spouse, Arcus, were not at all parental towards Archie. Besides, demons did not generally have any number of dads in their lives, so wanting that sort of family was not smiled on in society, and yet the demons all recognize very human things. That's a constant problem both in this book and in the last book, where they use human elements, human ideas, human structures on these demons and angels, when theoretically they live outside of human concepts. But the idea of what these angels and demons live like outside of human concepts was never actually developed, and no time was spent deciding what was normal for these people. It's kind of all just spur of the moment, here's a thing. Because if they had no concept of what a family was or what a dad was, then Lucifer wouldn't even be seen as his daddy. He would be seen as all of their lord because he is the creator, or, you know, the head servant of the head prisoner of them all, because the hell is the prison for them all. You know, whatever it is. That would be your choices, not daddy, because daddy would then be a foreign concept. It's a human concept. Since for some reason Malik cannot recall whatever it was, then he was talking to Lucifer about, Archie then tries talking to the apple, but the apple is unable to speak verbally, only uses sign language. After Archie determines that the apple is an imp smart enough to understand, he realizes all they need is someone who can speak sign language so they can communicate appropriately with him, since the apple was with them the entire time that Lucy was talking to Malik, and so then Apple will be able to tell them what Lucy was talking to Malik about. Maybe if Malik didn't just forget what Lucy was talking about when he walked out, then you could just answer that. This is the dumbest reason to be like, hey, we need to figure out a way to talk to the apple. You know, just figure out how to talk to the apple without making it so Malik is so stupid that he can't remember the conversation he literally just had before Daddy walked out. Though Archie realizes this is Satan's new plaything, so it won't necessarily just betray him. So it's not even a real solution to figure out how to talk to the apple, because the apple may not, very likely won't, just betray Lucy when Lucy just healed him and gave him a life that he didn't have before. Archie determines that Malik and the apple are going to be messengers, and on Earth, the apple's never been to Earth and is not going to be able to communicate with people, and they're going to have to follow along to see what is going on. Even if it's bait, Earth is better than hell, and that's the reason them that they're actually going to go because they don't want to be in hell anymore. Then they are totally free to go, no problem. Nobody stops them. There's no way to not get out. Like, it's just, everybody can just go. I don't see why anybody is in hell if you can literally just leave whenever you want, and Earth is better than hell. Like, just go take over. Nobody cares. The angels aren't even going to stop you, clearly. Back to Lupe at Home Depot, counting money now because she's just randomly got a job there. She's been hanging out in the car, unsure of what to do now that she was here. She finds at Home Depot to be super peaceful and is surprised. Then she eventually is greeted by Henry and mentally thinks about how face blindness is fun. So we learned that Lupe in this book has face blindness, but she didn't have face blindness in the last book because she was recognizing people when they walked in. So it was literally just something thrown into this book. And it's such an odd thing to give also to somebody that like ran an independent occultist job, because she would need to remember and recognize her people. But also, she recognized Satan every time he walked in, so you don't have face blindness. I'm sorry, I don't believe you. Quote, been taking extra hours. Lupe was oddly still trying to figure out if he was white. It was part of the face blindness. She was mixed race herself, and she still often had trouble figuring out ethnicities. From where she had grown up, she'd gotten used to presuming people were white, but Henry might have been half Korean, except maybe not, and asking would have been awkward. Face blindness was fun, and she saw faces, obviously, but could not recognize someone the moment that she looked away. Relying entirely on hair color and context, even staring directly at someone, her mind seemed to have issues parsing what they looked like. She still had a habit of not telling anyone about her condition without the caveat of, please don't rob me because I will be unable to identify you in a lineup later. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that face blindness makes it so you can't tell somebody's ethnicity. That feels really weird. She discovers that this guy is a psychic and then critiques that that's usually poorly done in movies. The meta doesn't stop, quote. Lupe shook her head. Great. More confusing nonsense. Hey, universe, she wanted to yell. There are better witches to deliver this destiny. I'm not really big on not making sense. So, Henry, can you just help me out and tell me everything? I mean, everything. I don't want any silly, the time is not yet nigh, or whatever answers. Okay, hun? Tell me about the angels. Tell me about you. Henry was enraptured by something behind her again. For a moment, Lupe was paralyzed, afraid to look back in case another angel was lurking. But then Henry reached over in front of her, hissing. She heard wings and realized that a pigeon had wandered next to her without her knowledge. Lupe waited for another moment for Henry to respond. Her life had ended in a big, scary, fiery explosion that she hadn't begun to process yet thanks to the nagging old pulse a few moments ago, and led her to this boy. In a good book, he'd be a cute girl, but it was looking like her life was being written by one of those young adult hacks. Meta humor is so not fun. Most of the time, it's just cringe. Turns out that the pigeons who had been gathering around Lupe were actually an angel creature who had been watching her. Henry assured Lupe that angels never hurt humans. Henry does not inform Lupe what this angel thing wants with her, but does go out into the car with her and then tells her that Lupe is close-ish with her dad. She says that they were close when she was growing up, but as a busy 22-year-old, she doesn't really have contact with him. Sitting in the hot car, Henry tells Lupe that the universe has brought them together for a reason and that he is there to help her. He just doesn't know what he is supposed to help her do. He knows the name and that she was meant to die with that Canadian town when it was nuked, but that's all that he knows. So again, it feels like we're dealing with a pantser, which I don't have a problem with pantsers. I'm half pantser myself. But it's a pantser that doesn't know what's going on and then did not go back and revise once they figured out what was going on. So they just peppered it with and I don't know what's going on, but we'll find out. And then we never come back to this at all. Switch over to Michael hating life because he's being told that to do his duty, but all he wants to do is murder Iofiel, but she is supposed to be dead and he can't focus on anything else. Michael is on some vague, nondescribed battlefield. Angels and demons are dying all around him, but he is obsessed with killing Iofiel. He's mostly sitting back and watching the plebeian baby angels kill themselves in battle. No wonder the death numbers are up so high and they're complaining about losing the war, because everybody is a plebeian baby angel that has no training and is dying on the battlefield. Why Iofiel isn't on the battlefield, I don't freaking know. I don't know what's going on with any of this. That's probably the most obnoxious, is like none of it makes sense. They're not doing anything. It's just constantly random. Michael flies into the war as his duty, fights things, goes emo, almost dies, gets saved by another angel as he had been waiting to be stabbed to death. With a spear in his back, Michael focuses on the smell of that other angel and how it was the closest he has ever been to another angel. Then it looks like he kills that other angel on the battlefield. Different angel flies in to take Michael away while Zakil hits the ground. Michael asks about that other angel and the new savior, Camille, who says a new one will be born soon and know his duty, so who cares? But so that new one will be born and know his duty, but Michael is born and doesn't know his duty and doesn't want to do his duty, and as Emo has said, like, feels like a convenience. So like the continuation of this thing with the reborn, the duties, it just makes it more complicated every time you go through a rebirth, and it doesn't work exactly the same like it probably should. If this is how it works, what's the point of the angel? And if this is how it works where they're just reborn and they know what their job is, then what is the point of the angel school? Because they're born with that knowledge of what their duty is and what they're supposed to be doing, right? Anyway, Michael is taken care of by Raphael, who just pulls his feathers and knocks him out. Why does Satan have gentle healing powers, but not Raphael? Yeah, why does Satan have gentle healing powers, but not Raphael? Is it because Satan is Lucifer and, you know, Lucifer was the king of the light? Whatever. While Michael is unconscious, he can still hear them talking and sees that he is the only one with empathy for Zakil. Also, quote, "But here is the silly, horrible thing. There never is another Zadkiel." In case you think that the angel not being reborn is going to become part of some storyline, it doesn't. It's just there, over-dramatized, and we never come back to it. Back to Lupe, sleeping in her car. Henry wakes her up by knocking on the window, and he says that he needs to go and chase after something dangerous, and she asks if he is twilighting her, which is explained as, quote, Twilight. Big popular vampire romance series. The supernatural creature is annoyingly mysterious to a gutsy, weak girl and reveals his true identity a while into the audience figuring it out. To which he says, yes, he is an angel, and now they need to go. Skip over to Santiago and Damien with their coven doing some sort of politically motivated spell that Santiago doesn't care about. They're at Zofia's, quote, big-ass ugly house. Santiago really hates everything about Zofia, so, you know, she's probably gonna be something bad. She actually doesn't turn out to be anything. Plot twist. She is very aggressive, however, in the fact, and is judging her for everything that she does. Quote, Zofia's house was yellow and red and so old that it couldn't help but look slightly disheveled. It was mostly empty, and Santiago figured it must have been her parents' house, as Zofia was unemployed, 20-something, living alone in his mini mansion in the middle of town. There was something about her, too, something that drove Santiago mad. Her hair, teased into wavy thickness, bounced with her every move as she jerked her way through the incantation. Her long, sparkly nails glinted in the half-moonlight. There was something about her, something not even the wry Santiago could laugh about anymore. Zofia calls them back to learn some real magic, and Santiago is suspicious. They're all able to do these little light balls of magic, and Santiago is offended and concerned by this. Like, the humans are skipping lines to go and do things that they shouldn't be able to do, and it's offensive to demons, who should be the only ones that are able to do this stuff. So now she's saying that she's worried that they're going to get angel attention by doing these things. Would they not get angel attention if it was demons doing them? Back to Lupe and Henry. They're driving out to the angel who basically signaled Henry. They pull off to the side of the road, and it's basically watching angels fight in the sky. Henry can't fly, so he needs to figure out a way to talk to them and get their attention to come down to him. They see Michael, who isn't supposed to be here. And scene change. I know, we're back to the freaking constant scene changes that are constantly interrupting everything instead of just letting things happen. Again, back to novice authors who don't know how to build dramatic tension, to build dramatic scenes. So instead, they constantly switch scenes, thinking that that is suspense, not knowing how to deal with the climax, so they can just skip through that scene and then something is done by the time they go to the next scene. But when you cut stuff off, you're actually cutting off the character moments that are going to build the tension, build the characters, and make decisions happen. Anyway, back over to Santiago and everyone having a good time, but she's like, oh shit, something bad's gonna happen. I know it. She's being a total buzzkill, and it's bringing all of the girls down. And Santiago tries to get all of the girls to stop doing what they're doing by saying she knows demons, and Damien doesn't know what the frick Santiago is doing right now, and is both embarrassed and displeased with her girlfriend. Michael lands and says that he is seeking a demon while making eye contact with Santiago. Like, how did Michael get here from seeing freaking Henry over there, but now he's suddenly in California with the demons? Okay, whatever. So Michael lands and starts making eye contact with Santiago. Santiago doesn't even know if the apocalypse is happening, which fair, neither does anybody. The audience is completely clueless as to what the plot of this book even is. Since Santiago didn't bother with learning defenses, she is sitting duck. But she screams Iophiel's name when she is attacked and then says that she knows about her. Michael is going to keep her alive so that he can use Santiago to find Iophiel, because that is the first hint of any direction he has gotten so far. Skip over to Henry talking about the Coven. Michael kills the Seraph in the sky with him because Michael is just everywhere right now. And Lupe and Henry run into the fallen creature and Henry is like, "This is murder." Lupe cries, seeing this dead creature, because it makes her think of the death that she avoided in Canada and all of the death that is constantly around her. Skip over to Archie, the Apple, and Malik dropped somewhere random on Earth. Neither of them know, despite Malik is supposed to be on a mission for Satan by Satan, which would give you an idea that he should know where he is, because it's where he's supposed to be going. But literally none of them know what they are doing, but they are also supposed to be doing something for Lucifer. I don't know how that works, but whatever. Suddenly, they are able to understand the Apple when he signs at them, because now they are talking to him, but nothing has changed since the last time when they were like, we need to know a way to communicate with him. Also, they're now talking about how they need to do something for Satan, but none of them know what that thing is. And they even talk about that even without doing anything, the thing that they have to do is going to happen anyway, so they might as well just enjoy their time on Earth as a free vacation and not do what Lucy said, because they don't need to, because it's going to get done anyway. Yeah, right. It's just excusing everything. Like, there's no plot, no action here, not even a joke. Then we go to freaking the Apple's point of view, just to get a lecture about gender when it doesn't even matter to their species. Quote, "A," they said. "The Apple, I've been meaning to ask you." Archie was walking alongside them, peering over and up at them. "Are you like, a boy or a girl, or neither or something other?" This was a weird question for the Apple to answer, as they hadn't been anything before but a watcher, and now that they were this human-y demon, perhaps they were something. But thinking it over, no, the magic had given them a different body, but hadn't exactly changed their mind. Male and female were as alien to them as the pigeons watching them from the light posts up above. Some watchers had their way with gender. Movie 43 was very vocal about being man, and Life Force said air gender was something called a whirlwind, a sort of cross between a third gender and a fifth one. Watchers usually just signed to each other in terms of you and I anyways, and their main job was watching. How they felt inside and identified was a triviality, respected by some, ignored by others, and inconsequential to the criminals that they hunted down. The Apple hadn't put any thought into the gender at all, so they wrote that out to Archie. It sounds like, look, they're talking about how this imp sees themselves this way, that imp sees himself that way, which means that imps do put thought into it. So, again, nonsense. Immediately after saying this, the Apple is being asked about pronouns and is being pissed off at Malik for having questions. Quote, "This did not calm his awkwardness. So, do I say, like, they are? What does it matter?" Malik, the rude, tall green angel who had tried to kill them, said this quietly. Still, it annoyed the Apple quite a bit, who immediately went from not caring to caring quite a lot. "Thank you. That's fine. This is quite common." Or A. Admittedly, the Apple had never used that pronoun before. Still vengeful, they stared at Malik, as in, A says this. A likes air pronouns quite a lot, and if you don't respect and air choices, A will kill you. It was a snap decision, but a delightfully petty one. They was a common pronoun, and it worked well, but the Apple had never got to own something before. It was an unexpected and pleasant little idea. Somehow we don't care about pronouns, but it also carries on for an entire page. But also, does that not just speak to a power game and narcissism to you, where it's like, oh, I don't have to do this, but now I can be mad because you were not addressing me the way that I told you to address me, and I am angry. That's what it looks like. Quote, "Archie took this and began to recite it to the other two. Notably, he started with A says. The Apple was pleased that at least it was quite fun to run through the head, they, as the assumed default. But this felt suddenly personal, right, belonging to the apple. Got to take in Malik's worried face for a second, wondering if maybe payback would be due. So now he's just looking for excuses to attack Malik for not understanding his personal preferred pronouns when he said he didn't freaking care. So it's just a reason to be mad at somebody so that you can punish somebody. Yeah, smarmy. But again, demons. So like, what am I expecting? It's a demon thing. Of course, A lacked air clawed and teeth and all that mattered for fun things, but haha, A to show that Archangel yet for being presumptuous and rude. The apple was raised on two core values, watching things and common courtesy. Archangel Michael had taken both of those things out of air life, and A to find a way to spite him yet. So, the whole pronouns thing is literally just to attack another person over for not getting it, and the apple is a little twat, is what we're learning right now. Which, whatever, you are Lucifer's pet, so I just don't understand the whole putting a freaking pronoun discussion the rant in the middle of this, and then the only reason the pronoun thing exists is to justify this character attacking another character. Okay. You know, I hated the apple before. I hate the apple more now as I think about the character implications and how like mean just all of these characters just are. So in a random grocery store they're right next to, Archie takes the apple aside and says that he likes humanity and would rather not end it. That's pretty great, even though some people are terrible. The apple says, don't worry, Lucy isn't going to liberate all demons, angels, and humanity, and it's all good, but he won't tell Archie what Lucy is actually going to do. Malik is then just swearing at himself about how much of a bad angel he is and how much he sucks. Also, he's thinking about how his replacement would do a better job than him and is making zero attempts to change at what he thinks are his failures. 2 seconds after hoping that he would just die and be reborn and do better, he goes, I wonder if dying would be such a bad thing. You literally just said you didn't think that it was a bad thing, so I don't know why you're asking these questions. He sees a pigeon nearby and wonders if they're smart. So this guy, who is supposed to be a leader of angels, really doesn't have any senses inside of himself to tell when an angel is nearby, does he? That's kind of weird, but okay. He's taking the pigeons outside because these pigeons have started gathering inside of the grocery store. And as he's delivering the pigeons outside, this child asks to take a picture of him because he looks cool with the pigeon sitting on him. So he's like, sure, fine, whatever. And he smiles. That's what Ophiel would do anyway, is let a child take a picture of her. So he does that. Then the pigeon speaks to him and he swears again, realizing that it's an angel and not just a pigeon. You know, maybe I could buy it that regular angels don't recognize their own, don't have senses of their own, but he is supposed to be an archangel, a leader of other angels, so I just don't believe it. What is even the point of being an archangel now if you don't come with any powers, any knowledge, any ability above all, any like demanded leadership that just works? Like, you got nothing. And then he's looking at this group of pigeons, knowing that it's an angel, but still treating them like they're pigeons. Quote, maybe this angel already knew that and was testing him. Maybe it'd be just fine. Maybe this angel knew nothing and wasn't going to check because pigeons were sort of unintelligent, right? Actually, wait, the pigeon thing didn't matter, did it? There were 2 pigeons, and they had very little to do with their ability to prosecute Malik into that next tomorrow. This is exhausting. The worst thing for me reading fiction that doesn't make any sense is it's just exhausting. Just trying to make sense, my brain gets tired, I get tired, and then it's like, this book isn't even long, but it feels like it's forever long because it doesn't make any sense. So the pigeons' names are Satan's Kingdom, and they question what he is doing. He's worried about dying and then says Satan's up to something. He's basically being picked up by Satan's Kingdom to be punished, and then starts questioning why they're even out of their jurisdiction. Satan's Kingdom randomly attacks him right then, and instinctually he puts up his shields just to be safe. This is because instinctually he apparently knows that he is not being disciplined in the right way, and then lectures Satan's Kingdom saying, if you're gonna kill me, then at least do it right. How are you gonna tell me that he's anal retentive about the rules when he literally swears every 2 seconds and has followed 0 of the rules? Not to mention, didn't he just say that death was better than living because he's such a disappointment? So like, just take your punishment and die and become a better version of yourself. Quote, now what? Satan's Kingdom was a principality, but watched over a small area. If it came down to it, Malik had a good chance of overpowering them. Of course, he didn't want to kill them, and honestly, their behavior had turned concerning fast. Angels had rules, Malik had rules, and Satan's kingdom was supposed to have them too. Any break in protocol was a warning sign. Yeah, your entire existence is a break in... You went to hell and are now assisting Lucifer, and that is not a freaking break in protocol, Malik? And you cannot do this after having a book and a half of all of the angels literally breaking the rules, including Michael. Malik has never followed any set of rules. This book does not think about what it does past the sentence that it is written in, and Satan's kingdom beats Malik down. He can't see this. There is a scream as he is about to die, and then it's assumed that he's saved, possibly by the demons, so don't worry about it because that's not even a problem anymore. Turns out that Archie noticed Malik was gone and went looking for him, finds him outside being beaten down by the angel. As they neared the alley, Archie peeked around the corners. What he saw did not bode well for any of their lives. Some sort of angel, the sort of angel that didn't attend the university because they were born with all they needed. The sort of angel that looked like it should have been a demon. See, demons and imps sometimes look like monsters. Some were like wolves or gargoyles or minotaurs, but no demon would look like whatever this angel was. Like the archangels? Because I thought the archangels kind of looked like freaks. Like none of the demons in this actually look like freaks. You had the jaguar demon in the first book, but like, again, we're at like nonsensical lore. So this angel is powerful enough to be born with everything that it needs. So a principality is above an archangel, it looks like, and it needs to know infinitely. But it also loses a battle to an imp who is supposed to be the weakest version of a demon to the point that they're disposable. It says that the imp downed this principality in one punch. Also, no one is noticing this. People are watching Malik as he comes out with birds all over him, but they don't hear or see him fighting in an alley behind the supermarket. Also, with the supermarket, I'm kind of just imagining like a corner store in the middle of a desert with nothing around it. I know that's not what it probably is, but that is what I imagine because there's no city that's described around it. Then the random imp that Lucy made not an idiot less than a day ago was somehow better at healing than all of them and is on par with Lucifer because frickin' the apple is apparently OP. No power scaling in here, BT dubs. Anyway, Malik was gonna heal the pigeon master over there because that one punch knocked him out so bad that he's not doing good. But the pigeon master turns into 30 pigeons and otherwise disappears. Their group is going through possibilities of what Lucy is up to when Archie says, quote, "Whatever Lucifer did, it was probably when Iofiel made the deal with him. You heard him, touch the ground, some sort of curse. And then she got up to heaven and killed the last archangel Michael, and she fucked it up somehow. She brought this." Archie wondered if that sounded like he was accusing her of this, when in reality, it'd be Lucifer's fault, his fault, for helping her kill him, and his fault for positioning heaven. It was easier. And his fault for poisoning heaven. It was easier to point at Iofiel, though, the lone agent. So don't worry about it. Despite Iofiel doing this, it's not her fault. They don't want angels or demons exposed to humans because humans might go to war with them if exposed. Apparently, Satan wants Malik to go back to heaven and warn of what he's going to do, as if they aren't already engaged in war. What are you going to do here? And they say, maybe you should tell Satan that this is a bad idea because Earth won't be safe if he goes through with what he's going to do. Y'all are angels and demons, and you're afraid of humans doing what exactly? They don't have any books on the truth about angels and demons, so what is it riskier? Malik says that if they kill Lucifer, then the chaos in heaven should end. What grip does Lucy have on heaven? That is the question. Archie is like, I don't care if we kill Lucy, I hate him, while telling the apple that he'll also miss him. Somehow Archie recognizes Lucy raised the apple into whatever it is, while also ignoring that Lucy has given Archie special attention forever, since however long Archie has been alive, what, like a year? Maybe? And although Archie hates the special attention, because it makes the demons hate him, this is also sort of different, like, he is not like the apple. The apple likes daddy's attention. Archie is like, Back to Santiago doing laundry and thinking about how the Coven mates know that angels and demons are real now because she told them. Then she complains about how magic doesn't solve your problems. With every other sentence, it feels like it's an unnecessary word vomit the author didn't think about and had no reason to put there. Quote, There was a tone, and the washing machine was done. She sat on it for a minute longer, shivering in her underwear despite not being cold, and then pulling her skirt and jacket out of the washing machine and putting them back on. Wet and uncomfortable, but maybe that would help her somehow. Nah, she raised her core body temperature until it radiated heat and waited for them to dry. At least it'd be less weird if someone came in now. Damien then joins her and tells her that she feels bad for what happened in the Coven circle. Damien says that she told them they are both demons, and Santiago's like, you shouldn't have done that. Bruh, you literally just did it. Calm down. Damien is like, everything is fine because really, there are no consequences in this book, so it really doesn't matter what you do. Damien, Santiago, just stop caring. And you get more of this meta crap. I hate meta in books most of the time. Quote, wait, Damien said, putting her hand up. I'm a little pissed about that, sure, but it's okay now. You got that? I've got it taken care of. It's okay. How? Santiago demanded. How can things be okay? Dude, you're supposed to be the one who likes loser humans, and I'm meant to be your cool, apathetic foil. Things are okay because humans are okay. I doubt that you're the first bunch of humans who now know a little too much about the cosmic order, but you kinda saved their lives last night. The angel did not look pleased. And you came up with some bullshit and saved the day. It's okay, okay? It's solved. It doesn't feel okay. Then come upstairs. Talk to them. Neither of us have been malevolent to them, after all. And it's not like they're learning that we're not what they thought that we were. It's suddenly going to change that. Think logically, man. We're okay for now. There are other problems, but we'll solve them together. Fuck, when did you read a self-help book? Santiago leaned forward, her forehead against Santiago's sternum, and tried to listen to her heartbeat. Feels like a typo. There's still a lot of bullshit going on. At least it isn't the witches. So, what happened was, Santiago said that she was a demon, then immediately left and just went outside to do laundry while everybody was still there. Damien is like, I'm also a demon. BT dubs, I'm gonna go talk to my girlfriend, and they went out. How does this help anything? All of the girls are happy for the demons to be back into the room except for Zofia, so they don't go on to summon demons because demons are bad, except for them, who are just there for love and other gay nonsense. And that's what they say. Quote, humans aren't even supposed to be capable of magic. Like I said, bullshit world, suspicious angels, possible apocalypse. We're just two hapless fiends and a torrent of nonsense. And love, Damien added in a monotone. And love, Santiago snorted, and other gay nonsense. But magic is a no-go. What is the point of having two good demons on your side if you're not going to teach us sick tricks? Jay asked. We're bad demons, actually, Santiago corrected. Anyway, so we've got the confusing thing of how you're gonna say that magic is a no-go while you're freaking the leaders of a freaking coven. What is the point of any of this? If you are, like, you started this whole thing out with teaching them how to do mac and cheese and emoji magic, and now magic is a bad thing? Whatever. Now skip over to heaven randomly because someone named Amariah has said that Zakiel's body is still in the morgue rotting. I thought that they were just reincarnates into new bodies. What is this supposed to be? That means that a corporeal form is in heaven and they're standing around this body wondering why the archangel isn't being reborn. This has never happened before. And then this one angel says that angels had never dreamed of dog breeding or race courses or space shuttles or stop motion animation because there's just endless possibilities of everything. And after being told, meh, even an angel being reborn could happen because things unfathomable happen all of the time. So that obviously this could also happen. And Mariah is she just teleports away to her office because none of this matters and everything in this story is going to be dealt with by waving a hand away at it. And back in the office, she is talking to the demon principal she works with. And here we learn that the demon helping run the school, you know, the other one that is co-leader with Amariah, he is actually one of Lucifer's ex-husbands. So apparently they're like, we're gonna just send all of these little baby angels to the school run by one of Lucifer's ex-husbands and nothing bad could possibly go wrong here. Are you really trying to tell me that heaven and hell are in this eternal battle and one of Lucifer's ex-husbands is running the school where the little baby angels are being trained? Skip over here to freaking Malik being in a circle waiting for the other angels for some reason, even though he was in hell hiding from them and has been doing nothing to fix the problems, and now he's meeting with them. The story acknowledges that the angels are meeting in heaven. Some of them are fallen and demons and traitors as they arrive and are uninvited, but instead of doing anything about it, it's just shrugged off and they just kind of go on about their merry ways. The angels ask Malik what he's doing and why he's brought a servant of Satan there, and he says that he knows a thing about Aophiel, and so that's why he's there. Now, you guys, I know that there's an elephant in the room now. I am back in my corporeal form, but it needed to happen. It needed to happen. I am in danger. If I kept showing my angel bits, I would be found. So, enjoy enjoy my true form while you could. But we're gonna finish this review in my corporeal human form. Apologies, not so much in advance because it's happening now. So anyway, we're gonna go back to Michael, and he's thinking himself sick. He's gone to heaven to look for his father and his mother and to dangle his legs in an empty void hole that is just sort of there. Quote, heaven is hollow. It is a cosmic frisbee that is ethereal plane, a slight dip with a long tower at the top. Below it is nothingness between worlds, the distant thunderstorm that Michael's eyes create to fill in that incomprehensible nothingness. Below the tower of heaven are steps, and at the bottom of that is a long, empty chamber with a clay dish. There are almost thumbprints on the uneven surface, a sort of hued glaze to the dark walls with a gentle curve, and the room comes to a small, unevenly carved hole in the floor. This is where Michael sits, dangling his legs into the void, looking at the dark clay chamber that no one is meant to enter. Here he asks God for help because God is not dead. I did not know that there was that God being dead was even a question, but apparently it was a question. Apparently we're also forgetting that in book 1, God was also a she at some point. Also, Michael wishes that God was actually dead in order to justify how alone he feels. Blasphemy. We are never going to address the blaspheming of literally every angel in all of these books. Switch over to Lucifer sitting on a random car as Archie finds him. Malik apparently went to heaven to warn everyone about Lucifer's plan so that Archie is supposed to stop Lucifer from ending the world, which Lucifer stopped Armageddon in the end of the last book, so now Armageddon is back on apparently. Why didn't he just let Aophiel do what she needed to do? Why did he cancel Armageddon and say that humans needed to do that, and then we're back to it as if the end of book 1 didn't happen? Archie and Salem go back and forth on why Satan is a wimp, and he is going to be easy to beat. So again, an imp who is supposed to be the weakest form of the demonic life forms and a plebeian demon, both are stronger than the king of hell. So this whole world-ending thing is happening by exposing demons to the world. That's the plan, is the world as we know it is going to end by knowing for sure that demons exist, even though humankind for centuries since the dawn of man have believed in heaven and hell in some form or another. Satan says, I knew that you were onto me, but I didn't really know if you'd ever put it together. What was there to put together? Nothing has been happening in this entire book. There is nothing, and they are on your team. You have been including them in your office, telling them your plans, and they were not supposed to put something together. Again, it's the vagueness. There is the vaguitude of not really having a plan, but pretending that there was a plan, but also suddenly just people figure whatever out. Satan insists that he is Archie's dad because he helped him, and Archie says, no, you're not, while he's crying. Then Archie asks for the liberation of the imps if Satan really wants to be his father. Satan is like, but we still need the imps for production, and they're so simple-minded anyway. They're not like you. The other imps, they need the job. We can make them slave labor, and it's not a problem. You're above those simple-minded brothers of yours, but the majority of imps, bro, they're born to be slaves. And Archie hates the term slave and tells Satan to stop using it because it is offensive. And we get this absolute word salad of motivation where Satan doesn't believe in anything. Quote, Look, I didn't intend to make a fucked up quasi-slave society when I made hell. I just wanted a space for the fallen to live. I just wanted new children to rear as my own. Imps were the young side effect of early production, and they fill a niche that we won't need anymore soon. I could probably change it, sure. I guess true free will is letting demons experience the joys of hard labor and the other jobs no one else wanted. It's not easy. It's not true freedom if there are some of us still left unfree, Archie said, his hands in fists. You know demons still have slaves and such, correct? I cannot control that. I can't influence that, but I can influence you, I guess. So humans don't have free will because slavery exists, but also demons can't interact with humans, but also are interacting with humans. This is such a bizarre direction to go with this, and it just feels so forced. Like, if you have a specific disposition, you have to bring some sort of oppression into your story, even when, like, you can do an oppression story with demons and angels. This, though, does not make sense. Lucifer is worried about the imps having true freedom, but they literally die within 3 years. That has been what is described for the imps so far in this world building. Just let them die and stop making them. If that is the issue, like Lucifer, just stop making imps. They will all be dead in 3 years or less. You also gave Archie the ability to live past 3 years, so just like take that away and let him die as well, instead of letting this guy guilt trip you. Like, what are we doing here? So then this man is supposed to be hosting a holy war, but he's letting an imp who is a disposable creature of his own creation manipulate him emotionally. Lucy then applauds Archie for getting one of his bullies to obey him now, via Salem, now taking orders from little old Archie. Back to Henry, he's getting a job for Lupe at the Home Depot, and they're just hanging out, honestly. Nothing happens, and it's an extra quiet day. He asks Lupe if she feels anything psychic, and she says no. Random awkward-looking angel waddles into the garden center. They help this angel, and it doesn't really matter. The virtue spirals into the parking lot with a lot of angels falling on top of it, and a bunch of angels fell from the sky, and this chapter ends with no build-up and no reason for it, just saying that Henry is actually Iophiel. In case you were wondering where Iophiel is this entire time, it's just suddenly she's Henry. It's like the author forgot that she needed to insert Iophiel into here somewhere, and it was like, here she is to save the day. Switch over to a random perspective of some boardroom CEO named Peter Yates, who has never been brought in before, and his horns are now showing, and now everyone in that room who is human is hiding, and then there's this random angel that comes through the window and lands on the table in the boardroom. Nothing from these people, nobody knows what's going on, and then we get a bunch of tweets about how the end of the world is here, and then we switch to a new person named Inga, who is living in South Holland, and she's at her house with her girlfriend Lacey, talking about getting married eventually. Quote, she wasn't sure if Lacey really appreciated her need to info dump basic information like this, but she wasn't complaining. She just rolled her head on Inga's shoulder. So they see a bright light in the sky and a weirdo angel, so they start recording with their phone. They also randomly start speaking in Latin. They're pretty sure that they're gonna die, and so they exchange banter like, quote, we'll be those historical skeletons people think are just friends years down the line, Inga said quickly, nervously, and with a small laugh. Gal pals, till death do we part, and after. Please stop trying to be funny and kiss me. Switch over to another random perspective named David King, info dumping more about who he is just to establish him as a person, but it's not going to matter because in about 2 pages he's going to die. On his way home, he sees a body in the woods and stops to help it, then another woman-shaped angel arrives and kills David. I told you it wasn't going to matter, just freaking info dumping characters to murder them. Quote, this is the part where Dave died, and he barely was aware of any part of it. It was by sword. It was unjust. But at least it was quick. There were actually 2 creatures that killed David. One was an angel, and then the demon just stole David's bike. Both of them are cordial to each other, though. Doesn't really matter. Skip over to some text messages between someone named Noxia and another person named 20 Seagulls. 20 Seagulls sees a hot chick outside, and then he is gonna go and get murdered by it. It's so cringe. Quote, 20 Seagulls, Esquire. Yes, but like, holy shit, there's someone outside. Noxia, what? Send pics, don't go outside, they'll kill people. They kill people. Send pics, don't go outside, they kill people. 20 Seagulls. Yeah, this one isn't like IDK, it just looks like a chick. I think I'm at the start of a shite harem anime. Because there was like a naked girl with red hair outside of my house, and I'm watching her as she from upstairs window, and she's just like there. Noxia, dude, like totes human? 20 Seagulls. She has wings. See horrid anime comparison earlier. Pink wings, it's unsettling. How do I let her know that I'm a homosexual and this anime pilot is not meant to be? Noxia, this is the ultimate gay final boss, having the bravery to come out to angels. Legit, she might kill you, and we don't know what the frick is going on. I'm still skimming articles, but news is coming from all over so fast. The angel outside is Nuriel. She knocks the person out and starts texting in the messenger for no reason instead of putting clothes on. I don't know why. Also, how does Nuriel not have clothing now when she did at the university in Canada? Yeah, Nuriel was in the first book. Switch over chapter 10, and now we're back to the Coven, and they're all just on Facebook watching the end of the world happen through Facebook Live. The demons decide that since they're bad demons, they're going to start an internet show to start answering questions and getting internet clout by being demons during the end of the world. Switch over to Malik, who is laying on the ground and doesn't know where he is. He is too tired to be able to understand the app, so they grab a notebook from a nearby police officer. It turns out they never needed to know sign language to communicate with the apple. The people nearby recognize Malik as an angel and ask who is in charge. He says Michael. In the middle of all of this, Malik also takes the time to explain demon pronouns to the freaking cop. I'm sorry, this is the end of the world and we're going over pronouns of demons who don't theoretically care about pronouns? Then Malik realizes that everything sucks and he swears out loud, and it is live streamed that angels do in fact swear. And this is legitimately a plot point. Quote, fuck, Malik said. Someone filmed Malik saying this, and a lot of people did, since a lot of people had been filming the angel since the moment that they'd all appeared in a flash of light in Bath Abbey Square. One person with a camera out was Augusto Shia. He was a local uni student passing through downtown to get to the smaller corner of Sainsbury that was still open, so he could pick up some vodka, and then a bunch of messages appeared on his phone, and also a lot of angels fell from the sky. This book, just going through the prose in this again, just makes me feel like this book was so rushed. Enter another random person with a phone being introduced as holding a phone, seeing things, and then moving on after putting his earbuds back in. Then we go back over to Santiago and Damon, who are live streaming demon question and answer and saying that Satan is gay, saying that LGBT took over the world because pretty much all demons are gay. Also says that angels are too, because apparently not having sex is also gay by definition. I guess we're redefining what it means to be an angel or a demon, and that asexual and or just being celibate means that you're gay, apparently. All religions are being redefined right now, and also gayness is being redefined right now. They also say that they are not evil, demons aren't evil, and then Archie arrives at the door. They briefly argue about not knowing where Iophiel is because the new one hadn't been reborn yet, and then they go back to the Q&A. Over there with Henry/Iophiel, who is questioning her choices a little bit and saying how happy she is to see Lupe again. She explains being Iophiel, having face blindness, and apparently also has blinded her to the gender of Iophiel, and asking if Iophiel is male or female before, because apparently now she can't remember. So face blindness is apparently not just your face is blind, it is apparently you can't tell races, and you also can't tell the sex. I would say that's a little more than face blindness. I feel like there is something else going on here. I don't really know the purpose of doing this, if I'm honest with you. Apparently, after betraying heaven to hell, Iophiel felt she needed to atone for the betrayal by working at the Home Depot. Lucifer shows up, reveals himself, and Lupe is like, what the hell? But so am I, because Lupe recognizes Lucifer immediately as Riz, despite how he is dressed differently even. So apparently the face blindness is cured, and also the gender blindness, and also the racial blindness, and whatever else is going on with her, let's be real. She is outraged that she's been working in an occult shop, but stalked by demons, and then Lucifer is like, let's go, Iophiel, we got some catching up to do. How did Lucifer know where Iophiel was? He just showed up when apparently everybody else was like, I have no idea where Iophiel is. Who knows? No one knew, and now suddenly she shows up, she reveals herself, and he knows, but nobody else knew. Then they're all gonna go over to Lucifer's shopping plaza to discuss what to do, and guess what the name of that plaza is? Riz's Morning Star's big, sexy, gay 60s milkshake stand and discount tiki bar. Satan says that this shop is going to be his thing once this whole holy war thing is over. The irony of Lucy saying that he doesn't want the decision to be meaningless when every decision made in this book has been meaningless. He says that the holy war is just going on so that humans know the truth, and now that they have free will, since they know what is going on. But they're still slaves. So does that mean that they don't actually have free will? Because that was the argument it made earlier. He says, give it a few days and then everyone will simmer down once they have settled with knowing what the truth is. Iofiel wants to give away to send the angels back to heaven or into hiding, but she's told that only Michael might be able to help with that. Maybe. Though no one knows where he is exactly. Apparently Iofiel now suddenly has a little bit of his magic in her from killing him, so now she can sense him, just so she can find him. You'd think that this would work the other way around too, and would have brought Michael straight to her door, but no. It's just a quick fix, because the author has written herself into a corner. Satan is going to do a spell that helps Iofiel go back to heaven so that she can go look for Michael. Back over to Malik and the Apple, going to see Archie for some reason and getting on a plane to go and see them because they are separated at some point. And Malik angsts while they are on the plane and he learns sign language from Apple. And then they go to Santiago and Damien's house in California where they say hello to each other for the first time in this book. And Santiago tells Malik about her YouTube channel and her newfound online popularity. I wonder if this is somewhat autobiographical. She's like, look, I made my YouTube presence with demon Q&As and a Lightlark review. They keep the stream going to make people laugh and invite Malik onto the screen too until things end. It's a variety show running 24/7 with different people running it at different times. A car honks outside some hours later and it's actually Lucifer. He comes and greets them, immediately addresses the pronoun situation because even though demons don't care about pronouns, apparently they care about pronouns to bring them up every freaking time that they are on the screen. Quote, hello, dear, he said with his white smile. He turned to signing. I hear you're using new pronouns. A lovely choice. A grinned widely. I did not appreciate Malik's attitude, thinking how I wanted to be addressed. It is a new sound for me, but a good sound. I had never realized how ambivalent I was to the word they until I heard something better. See, movies are always right on how to treat children, sent them blindly into the world on a vague quest. Lucifer said, oh, I should introduce you to my entourage. This is my good human companion, Lupe Kawaii, and in the back is my part-time minion, Iofiel Saint Killer. Along for the ride are my two spouses. I don't think that you've ever met my husband Rosier and my partial husband Arcas. We're on a sort of family vacation. Where else would we go but California? I don't think there's extra room in your car, the Apple signed. They all then realize that Iofiel is with him. Then Iofiel and Malik go off to talk about how they had been looking for her the whole time. Everyone is just happy to see that she's alive and no one is mad about what she's done. Of course, decisions don't matter in this book. Then we're over at Michael's POV and he is just being emo and alienated, still in heaven. Switch over to some party happening at Santiago's house where she mentions that they're going to live stream killing Michael now for transparency's sake, i.e. views. She says that it's going to happen in heaven and hell again, and Michael was probably gonna die for it. Don't worry, it gives no answer. It also says the idea of right and wrong will have to be updated after this because demons aren't the bad guys, and so the rules have to change. Iofiel goes on to mope by herself outside, and Lucifer follows, telling her that she is the key to all of this, but if she doesn't want to do it, then she doesn't have to do it. It's saying angels aren't coming back as long as heaven is closed, but we have no idea what that means, and Lucifer says that he is helping because he cares about freedom. Bro, you run a caste system in hell over imps, and you're gonna tell me that you care about freedom? Calm down. Turns out that Satan didn't really care about any of it the whole time. It just wants nothing to do with hell, just wants to be normal and run his little tiki gay shop. And he isn't the one who made hell. It just exists, and it always has existed without him. They're all gonna go to heaven, but Lupe and the Apple... They're all gonna go to heaven, but they leave Lupe and the Apple, because it doesn't really matter. Also, it says that fighting between angels and demons is just tradition left over from the historical prejudice and nothing else. There's nothing behind it. Michael is still sitting on the void, doing nothing, being an emo, brushing his hair back emotionally, applying eyeliner, crying so the eyeliner runs down his face, and then checking himself out in the mirror to make sure that he looks appropriately emotional. He begs for someone to come along and tell him what to do. Where the frick are all of the other angels who were previously telling him what the frick to do? How is this even keeping heaven closed? They all arrive in heaven and it feels like hell. So apparently heaven is not really closed if they get there. I mean, none of this makes any sense. They approach Michael, they get to the tower, and they approach Michael, who is emo and sulking, and Aophiel is like, I'm not gonna kill you, and Michael and Archie go back and forth, quote, "You're not a demon," Michael said. "No, I'm an imp. I'm 9 months old, and we are made in a large batch, given only limited free will, and live short lives in hell. I was born weak and incorrect, but given another chance at life anyways. Sometimes it feels like a game, a source of amusement for the man who rescued me, but it's not bad either. It was not fate or a deliberate choice that caused me to have holes in my wings or only one eye. It was just a thing, not a person. You were born in a way that wasn't according to plan, but that doesn't mean that it's because of Aophiel, and even if it is, it's not because you're not only because of her. You're different. I get it. Me too. Different doesn't always mean unique or special or better. Sometimes it means worse, weak, or unstable. It means that, but it doesn't define every aspect of your life. I was born broken. I was born broken too," Michael whispered. "Born broken. We'll always be a little broken, but..." Archie shook his head. "Whatever, broken, but whatever. That doesn't mean that you have to live a broken life." None of this... Okay, number 1. It's not Aophiel's fault, but even if it is, it's not her fault. Yes, it is. She stabbed him. Number 2. We were born broken. Born broken. Broken. Born all it can do is repeat itself and actually not mean anything, and also just go, you know what? We are broken. We are losers. We are born broken and losers, but also we are broken born losers. My guy. They all understand that they're misunderstood and broken, but nobody wants suffering, and so they work together so that they can fix said suffering. Back on Earth, the Apple has learned how to use a phone, and the live streams are still going. Lupe and the Apple are texting about how worried they are, and the Apple says that they are all babies by babies. The Apple says that they are all babies and that babies are all strong, and everyone is gathered in the same neighborhood. I have no idea what the frick it means by babies are strong. Then they are all in an apartment somewhere, and Aophiel is sleeping by the dishwasher because the sound of it running is comforting, and Malik joins her. We pretty much retcon the end of book 1 here, where she was the one who pressured Malik into having sex, and now she just ignores his feelings about it by saying, quote, I know it's been a while for me too. I know I'll love again," she said. "It'll be a while, but not much has changed. I don't know who I am, the sort of person I might romance, or if I would want that at all, if I care for sex, or if I will later. I don't know if there is a clear way to describe anything about me. I don't even know if I am a girl or an angel. I love you, Malik, though, and that has a little to do with anything else about me." The next morning, everything is fine, and Michael is now shy. Because, his personality just suddenly changed. They call Aophiel too kind again, and that's how she has fixed things. Everything is going to be fine, and the world is fine, and Aophiel wants affirmation on her hair choices. Michael quits his job as an archangel, because now you can just do that. And he's going to go by Amy now, which is short for Archangel Michael II. Time to go and have pancakes. Everyone is legit just existing now for the next 2 chapters because the story isn't over yet. Santiago and Damien get married. Apparently archangels can just quit. And I don't know why they don't just execute these people to respawn them so that they can just do their purposes. But clearly when they're respawned, it doesn't just make them do their purposes. It doesn't just fix things. It makes them emotional, and all of the angels just stopped caring. The end of the book, everybody stopped caring, but this entire book feels like it does not care. And that is legitimately the end of the book. The end of the duology, where they have nothing to do with each other except some character names. So, random thoughts, and I'm sorry these are going to be unorganized because the author couldn't care about this book and I could not care to organize my thoughts. So these are just my popcorn thoughts. 16% way into the book, there is still no direction. Get to 100% of the way of the book, there is still no direction. Them not recognizing faces felt forced, especially just tacked on in book 2 since she didn't have this problem in book 1. There's the weirdness of demons perpetuating human lore, or else Malik just doesn't remember his past. Quote, he laughed suddenly and his whole body shook as he did so. Of course it'd be you. Should I be concerned that Malik has finally come to hell? This did not amuse Malik. It was human lore, not angelic. The destiny of some angels in the Quran. Malik was an angel who taunted sinners in hell, and perhaps back in the old days, one of his ilk had been like that, but perhaps not. You really did a number on that poor 33. The Fallen scratched behind one of their smooth black horns. I'll admit, Watchers aren't built to last, but I don't enjoy seeing them suffer either. So, like, why are we recognizing... Oh my gosh, I just hated that it's so non-specific. It's like, maybe previous version of him did this, or maybe they didn't. Make a decision! This author cannot make a freaking decision for anything. So it makes no sense for angels, especially an archangel, to not know Satan instinctively from their past lives. I guess hell prides itself on being accessible to the disabled, even if they have a caste system against imps. It is a weird combination of trying to be socially correct and also be hell. Do they have... I just got bizarro descriptions like this. Salem strode to the desk, cracking his fingers one by one and shaking his pale green hair. It had grown longer in the months since he'd been in hell, and mixed with the scars and crooked teeth, he looked ready to fight. Are you profiling Salem right now? Can we talk about the gay stereotype that Satan is, or no? What's being said here is that all demons appear to be gay. I'm not making a statement, I'm just pointing it out. Y'all can discuss it if you really want to. Your characters don't have to be agnostic to prove... Now, this is a side tangent for authors who feel like every character in the book has to be you, especially if they are not, like, demonized characters. But your characters don't have to be agnostic to prove that you, as a person, are agnostic. The characters in here are admitting to being angels and demons and Satan, but can't commit to God existing, period. If you can't just acknowledge when you're dealing with angels, demons, heaven, hell, God, at least the last book could acknowledge God better than this book. If you can't come to that statement when you mentioned God before, then who the hell is Satan fighting and rebelling against? Just build a world and stick with it. And it's okay if you admit that there is a God in your story. It does not detract from your realistic, agnostic, or atheistic points. Your characters are literally allowed to think and act and believe differently than you. Quote, when you say angels and demons, what sphere are we dealing with? Christian, Jewish? Meh. Henry closed his eyes and shrugged cartoonishly, his hands in the air. I know that's not a good answer, but I don't know who's closest. I don't know if other mythologies, polytheism, and such are too true. But there's a God? Meh. He shrugged again. A cart was coming down the aisle, and they stopped talking as it passed. There was wind chimes somewhere in the breeze, the flutter of bird wings. Satan's kingdom was still hanging near, her flock circling on the ground in what looked like a huff. Henry, this isn't helping, Lupe said, though actually knowing that there was some definite answer about God would have been pretty scary too. Is there a God? Yes. Holy shit, that would have changed everything and also made it really awkward to deal with both atheists and theists. And if we're gonna let that one thing hang, why is this flock of pigeons an angel? And also, why does she have a gender? That doesn't seem to have an appropriate thing, that doesn't seem like an appropriate thing for multiple birds to possess. Like, we're going to address, this can't even commit to angels serving a god, which is fine if you're going to then have them serve Michael. Like, you have to give them somebody to serve. What are they doing? What is their purpose? And if you change it from heaven, if you change it from God, then just let it be that. But the fact that it won't commit because it hates Christianity and Judaism and whatever so much that it can't even just commit to letting angels serve something, but we will look at Satan? Like, it's so frustrating. Pick something, develop something, create something for your angels to serve, because your demons serve something. This is why nobody in any of these stories has any sort of motivation or direction to do anything, because the author cannot commit for whatever reason she has. I don't understand the obsession with angels when she cannot even just decide on a way to twist the mythology. I can take stuff that I don't believe and put it in my stories and create a new version of that stuff just fine. So what is this? Also, we got this cringy freaking garbage quote, she is a gender because she has one. Why do you? I know. Flock of pigeons, gender, a bit strange, but Satan's kingdom isn't a flock of pigeons. She's an angel, and that angel has a personality, a reality, all that fun stuff, just like you. Might not be human, but she's a person. Henry frowned. His hair was long enough that he didn't have bangs in the front, just 2 long side bits, but the back was shaved. It was like emo met punk met cutting your own hair. He leaned over toward the ground, his hair falling forward, and another bird hopped into his hands. It cooed, and after a furtive glance, Henry contorted his mouth and hissed something at it. It wasn't really a hiss, but rather an alien, quick language that reminded Lupe vaguely of German crossed with Arabic. Oh, sorry. He today. So the flock of pigeons not only has a gender, but a changing gender. Cool. Great. Awesome. It can determine that, but it can't determine whether God exists or not. Just freaking A. And I'm sorry, but I don't know how it's not a joke to go BT dubs. The flock of pigeons is gender fluid in earnest. But I mean, how is it not a joke? Quote. Henry did not seem to understand why this was the last straw for Lupe, but maybe he'd just been around angels long enough that there was no surprise left. Who knew? Certainly not Lupe, who had been through quite a bit today and having a hard time wrapping her head around God, who made angels, one of which was named Satan's Kingdom, and who was in fact gender fluid and he today. Henry took a moment. Then he said, "Yes. Is that a problem?" Lupe heaved a heavy sigh. "No, come on. I'm a fucking Wicca from a liberal city. I've met a lot of trans and queer folk, but I'm trying to tell you that these," she gestured toward the scattered, normal-looking birds that littered Home Depot's garden center, "birds are one entity, and that entity has a gender, and that gender is specifically gender fluid, and wow, I don't know. I think that I've had enough new information to contend with today. What time is it?" Then we have this garbage with face blindness. Quote, Henry scratched his nose. He had a nose ring. Lupe had probably seen it earlier, but her face blindness was coupled with a tendency to avoid looking at faces in the first place, and she'd never really processed his, like 5. This bad quote. Lupe was a nice girl. She was relatively sure of this, that she was nice, chatty, and well-liked. It led to friendly encounters, but it didn't guarantee friends. Let's just be honest with something like this. You didn't want to have her develop ties in her own town, so you gave her none. So I don't know why this book is pretending that Iophiel is dead and then not bringing her up. We know that she's not dead, but the ending of the last book didn't even try to set up her death. Why even bother with a holy battle if you're not going to strive it? It's vague as frick. Where are they fighting? Canada? Like, what is... The battleground was barely there. There wasn't actually any interactions. Like, maybe the reason there are so many angels who are constantly dying is because you're sending newborns into war. Even Michael doesn't know what the frick he's doing when he goes in there, and then he kills one of his own because... For what reason? I'm sure that's why Zakiel didn't come back, because he was killed by an archangel's sword. So angels are born right next to their dead bodies, and how are they not respawning again and again and again during the Holy War and continuing to fight in the Holy War? Instead, they respawn and then they're sent to the university to learn their skills again, to then go back to heaven and fight again. That doesn't make any sense either. The newborns will know their duty, says an angel, but we see literally no they don't, as Michael goes emo and Iophiel does nothing and has no idea what her purpose is in the beginning of the last book, to the point that she also becomes a demon and has no purpose. I'm sorry, am I frustrated? Yeah, because this book explodes my mind. It turns my brain into a bomb of melting garbage. At some point in this book, Damien is described as being a trans woman. How is it possible when demons are also considered genderless like angels? And then suddenly, Damien is now a trans woman. Since I've already mentioned, why is the war even happening in this? There's no point to any of this, and there is nothing angelic about any of them. I'm just going to give you a couple of quotes from this book to close out on, because the writing is just terrible. If not just the plot and the characters lacking in everything, the prose are terrible, the dialogue is cringy. But let's just go into this quote. Lupe huffed, which was a specific and quite petty action to take, an intake of breath and a very loud sigh, so intentional the recipient of the huff must realize that you are annoyed. Quote, after all, word on the street was that the apocalypse had been happening, and now that it had stopped, and maybe that meant, quote, Malik felt more and more like a screw-up with every passing second. This is what it was like to be in his head. Oh dear, oh fuck, oh holy father, thou art in heaven. Why the hell did you let it get this far? Why did you let me go to hell? Why did you let me live? Why did you let me leave? And what do you expect me to do next? What do you think is going to happen next? Am I supposed to know? Am I supposed to remember? Am I supposed to be prepared for this? Oh fuck! I thought they were born with their knowing their abilities and their duties. The swearing in this is also nonstop. It is so cringe. It is such a teenager trying to be an adult and edgy by swearing, and it does not work. It is a child pretending to be an adult, and it is immature. A couple of cringe quotes to end us on. Quote, and I remember, quote, and I never asked Archangel Michael to nearly kill me, so here we are. It was good getting back into her groove again. Sass, that was it. The ability to say what you wanted and still seem likable. Right, that's what it is. Quote, honestly, I was the one who said that we should infiltrate the Coven, Santiago said, getting back into using hand gestures. Fuck yeah, gesticulation. Every word she said felt all the more powerful. Only thing that we're guilty of is shits and giggles. Santiago and Damien have nothing to do with the plot, and they are forced in the Coven. The Coven was forced as heck. And then we have this. Quote, she was perched on the windowsill of the clinic building, listening to Zadkiel's body decay. This was one of those abilities that came with an inorganic, illogical form. She heard death like any sound, and she could speak in colors and taste music. It was fun being a creature of nonsense. Anything illogical was logical, and as long as she kept her charity, no heavenly thunder was going to remind her to behave. Armaya yawned, despite not having a mouth. It's a stretch and a squeak and the overwhelming feeling to anyone observing that she had yawned. Quote, emergency in heaven, she said to Adram. Despite not having all of the details herself, he dutifully turned in his chair, and she was quiet for another moment, sorting through the information. Then she shook, tensing her feathers like a pigeon in the rain. It's not as dire as I'd expect, but very strange. Strange enough that you're welcome to come with. It makes no sense. Emergency, not really. It doesn't really matter, but also, aren't these people supposed to be actively fighting one another during a holy war? And then she's like, hey, enemy, who is also Satan's ex-husband, why don't you come to heaven with me to see what this emergency in heaven is? Like, angels and demons are dying literally right now on the battlefield, and somehow they are also very open in communication about all of their difficulties. We're going to leave it at that. That was this story. It was a mess. Not going back for more. My brain fried again reading it again. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm hoping for some better stuff now. This was read at the end of December. Now it is done. It is over with. It is time to read other things. I have been neglecting my reading a little bit, but I gotta catch up because I got stuff to read forever, and stuff that I want to read, and new authors that I want to discover. So we're gonna do that, and hopefully I can bring to you a new book review next week. I got ideas. I have at least 2 ideas for different book reviews that are going to go on next week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your patience with this. I'm sorry if it was all over the place, because it was all over the place for me too. With that said, have you read this book? Will you read this book? What do you think of it compared to book 1? Did you see both of the book reviews? Looking forward to your thoughts down in the comments below. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and don't die.
Was that Wayland Cross in the trunk? Do you know, or is that something that's still being figured out?
The person in the trunk was not Wayland Cross.
Is he in trouble?
We don't know who did it, but as the owner of the car, the longer he's missing, the worse it looks for him.
Cross isn't a killer.
For the last couple of years, the average number of murders in Baltimore has been over 300, and it's been going up. Mind you, that's only whatever the badges count as official murder, and believe me, there are people that don't count when they die.
Wayland? If you're down here, tell me. I'm not talking to the badges, I've been looking for you. They found a body in your trunk. Why? Did you do that? To the left. Plain black letters read along the wall. You walked in the corridor. Once that ends, you chose the dark is on the right. My vision goes blurry, flickers black and black and black for longer intervals until I can't see anything at all. I'm not screaming anymore, but my voice echoes back to me. Where the hell am I? You're dead, Josephine. Even smart people do stupid shit sometimes, right?